Ever find yourself wishing for a superpower? I mean, like, it may be teleporting to avoid traffic or suddenly being able to speak any language.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking about a different superpower the other night. It was like 3 a.m. and my kid woke up with a fever.
Uh-oh.
And, well, the problem was our medicine cabinet was like a graveyard of expired cough drops and sunscreen.
Oh, no.
Not really what you need in a health emergency, right? So for this deep dive, we're going to equip you to be the hero of your household. We're talking about building the ultimate medicine cabinet stocked with all the essential over-the-counter medications, the ones that can really save the day for those minor health emergencies.
It really is fascinating how often we overlook those simple preparations until we're in desperate need of them.
Right.
And of course, it's not about self-diagnosing, but more about just having the tools you need to provide relief while you decide if you need to call a doctor or just ride it out.
Okay, so let's start with pain and fever. I feel like those are the most frequent uninvited guests at my house. Acetaminophen, Tylenol, and ibuprofen, Advil, Motrin. Those are kind of the usual suspects, right? But I've always wondered, what's the real difference between them? Like, isn't it all just pain relief?
Yeah, it's a really common misconception. A good way to think about it is pain signals are like messengers running to the brain to say, hey, something's wrong.
Okay.
Acetaminophen intercepts those messengers, basically blocks the message of pain.
Mm-hmm.
Now, ibuprofen, on the other hand, tackles the problem at the source. It's like a firefighter rushing to put out the fire, causing the pain. And it does that by reducing inflammation.
Ah, okay. So that's why ibuprofen is often recommended for things like dental pain or a sprained ankle.
Exactly.
It's not just masking the pain, it's actually addressing that inflammation that's causing the pain in the first place.
Exactly. Let's take dental pain, for example. When you have a toothache, that throbbing pain is often caused by inflammation, either the pulp inside the tooth or the gums surrounding it. Ibuprofen's anti-inflammatory properties directly target that. It's going to bring more effective relief than just blocking the pain signal.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. So it's like having different tools for different types of pain. So if it's a headache from stress, maybe acetaminophen is the way to go. But if it's achy joints or muscle soreness after a workout, ibuprofen might be the better choice.
That's a great way to think about it. Now, let's switch gears to allergies. Okay, so imagine you're enjoying a nice picnic in the park, and suddenly you start sneezing like crazy.
Oh, no.
Your eyes are itchy, and your nose just won't stop running. An antihistamine could be a lifesaver in a situation like that.
Oh, I know those surprise allergy attacks all too well.
Yeah.
I was once helping a friend move, and we discovered a whole nest of dust bunnies behind a bookcase.
Oh, my God.
I swear I was sneezing for a week.
Wow.
So which antihistamines should we be looking out for?
Diphenhydramine, Benadryl, and loratadine, Claritin, are two really good ones to have on hand. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. They both work by blocking histamine, which is a chemical released by your immune system during an allergic reaction. But think of histamine as a key,
Okay.
and it's trying to unlock allergy symptoms in your body.
Gotcha.
Diphenhydramine is like a strong, fast-acting lock. It blocks that key completely and brings quick relief, but it often makes you drowsy.
Yeah.
Loratadine, on the other hand, is like a gentler lock. It takes a bit longer to engage, but it doesn't have those sedating effects.
So Benadryl, for when you're ready to just knock out the allergy symptoms and sleep, and Claritin for when you need to actually function during the day, having both options seems like a really smart move.
Absolutely. Choosing the right antihistamine for the situation can make a huge difference in how you manage those allergy attacks.
Now I think it's time to tackle the topic of tummy troubles,
Oh, yeah.
especially since I'm a little bit of a spicy food enthusiast, which sometimes backfires.
Yeah.
Let's talk about antacids. What are they and how do they provide relief from heartburn and indigestion?
Antacids are like the peacekeepers of your stomach.
Okay.
When you eat something that triggers excess acid production, you get that burning sensation we call heartburn.
Yep.
Antacids contain bases that directly neutralize this excess acid.
Okay.
And they bring quick relief. They're like tiny warriors battling the fiery forces of your upset stomach.
Okay, I have to admit, I always pictured antacids like little sponges soaking up the acid. Knowing it's actually a chemical neutralization process is fascinating.
Yeah, it's a remarkable process. So now you have a choice between tablets and liquid antacids. Calcium carbonate tablets are a very common and effective option. They're convenient to carry, and their solid form allows for you to have a precise dose. But if you're looking for faster relief, Liquid antacids might be a better choice. They tend to act more quickly because they disperse through the stomach more readily.
I can see how the liquid form would be great for those moments when you need relief like yesterday.
Right.
But I do love the convenience of tablets, especially for tossing in my bag.
Yeah.
Now, switching gears to something a little less glamorous, but equally important. Let's discuss dehydration. I know it can be a serious issue, especially during bouts of stomach flu or even a bad cold with fever. What's the best way to rehydrate effectively? Plain water.
Well, drinking water is essential, especially when you're dehydrated. It's not the whole story. Imagine your body's cells are like tiny factories,
Okay.
and they need the right balance of fluids and electrolytes to function correctly.
Right.
When you're dehydrated, you lose not only water, but also these crucial electrolytes like sodium and potassium.
Mm-hmm.
Oral rehydration solutions are like specialized delivery trucks. They bring both water and electrolytes directly to those cellular factories, making sure that they can operate at full capacity.
That makes so much sense. So it's not just about replenishing fluids, it's about providing the right balance of ingredients for our bodies to function properly.
Precisely. And remember, this is especially important for children and the elderly who are more vulnerable to the effects of dehydration.
Great point. Okay, let's move on to those everyday mishaps that inevitably happen. You know, the minor cuts, scrapes, and the occasional kitchen burn. I feel like I'm constantly patching up someone in our house. What do we need for those situations?
For those everyday boo-boos, a topical antibiotic ointment is going to be your best friend. Bacitracin and neomycin are common and effective choices. They work by basically creating like an unfriendly environment for bacteria,
Okay.
and that prevents them from setting up camp and causing an infection in the wound.
So it's not like an internal antibiotic that goes through your whole system.
Nope.
It's more like creating a protective barrier right on the wound itself.
You got it. Think of it as like a localized shield,
Right.
protecting that vulnerable skin while it heals.
And of course, we always want to make sure that the wound is clean before applying any ointment, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cleaning the wound with soap and water, that's the first line of defense. It's going to help remove any dirt or debris that could be harboring bacteria and interfere with the healing process.
On to a less glamorous, but oh so common issue. Diarrhea.
Yeah.
I've definitely had those moments where it's like, nope, can't leave the house today. What can we do for those sudden bouts of diarrhea?
Loperamide, commonly known as Imodium, can be super helpful in those situations. Here's how it works. Your intestines have muscles that contract in a coordinated rhythm to move things along.
Right.
When you have diarrhea, these contractions go into overdrive,
Uh-huh.
leading to those loose, watery stools.
Yeah.
Loperamide acts like a traffic controller. It slows down those contractions and gives your intestines time to absorb more fluid. And that results in firmer stools.
So it's not addressing the root cause of the diarrhea, but it's essentially helping to manage the symptoms and prevent dehydration.
You got it. And that's key because dehydration can be a major concern with prolonged diarrhea. So loperamide's a good tool for those urgent situations when you need to, well, put a pause on things.
It's like hitting the pause button on those overactive intestinal muscles.
Exactly.
Good to know. Now, what about skin irritations? Bug bites, rashes, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. A 1% hydrocortisone cream is your go-to here. Hydrocortisone is a mild corticosteroid that works by mimicking a naturally occurring hormone in our bodies. It's called cortisol.
Okay.
Cortisol is a really powerful anti-inflammatory, and hydrocortisone, when applied topically, it helps to reduce redness, itching, and swelling that's associated with various skin irritations.
So it's different from the antibiotic ointment we talked about earlier.
Right.
This is all about calming down the inflammation rather than fighting off bacteria.
Exactly. It's like having a soothing balm for your irritated skin.
Okay, before we wrap up this deep dive into our medicine cabinet essentials,
Yeah.
let's talk about safety reminders.
Okay.
What are the most important things to keep in mind when using these over-the-counter medications?
Well, first and foremost, always read and follow the label instructions.
Right.
This includes things like the dosage, the frequency, and any potential side effects or interactions with other medications. It might seem obvious, but it's crucial to remember that even though these are over-the-counter, they are still medications.
Right.
And they need to be used responsibly.
Yeah, I think it's easy to forget that sometimes.
Right.
Because we're so used to just grabbing them off the shelf. Anything else we should keep in mind?
Definitely check those expiration dates regularly. Expired medications can lose their effectiveness, and in some cases, they can even become harmful. Dispose of them properly. And don't forget to store your medications in their original containers, in a cool, dry place, safely out of reach of children and pets.
All great reminders. And I think it's important to add that while having these medications on hand can be incredibly empowering, for handling those everyday health hiccups.
Yes.
It's not a replacement for professional medical advice.
I couldn't agree more. Self-treating can sometimes mask underlying conditions, so it's always best to err on the side of caution and consult with your doctor if your symptoms are severe or persist or worsen, despite using those over-the-counter remedies.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today, equipping our listeners with a solid foundation for building a well-stocked medicine cabinet.
Yes, we have.
But I'm curious, is there anything you would personally add to your home medicine cabinet based on your own individual needs or experiences?
That's a great question. It really does highlight how building a medicine cabinet is a personal process. For me, since I tend to get motion sickness, I never travel without some anti-nausea medication.
Oh, yeah.
It's made road trips and flights so much more bearable.
I can totally relate to that. I always have some in my bag, too. It's amazing how such a small thing can make such a big difference.
Right.
Yeah. What else would you consider adding?
Well, thinking beyond medications, a well-stocked first aid kit is essential.
Right.
Bandages, antiseptic wipes, gauze pads, those are the basics that everyone should have.
Oh, and a thermometer. Can't forget
Yeah.
that. So important for monitoring fever, especially with kids.
Absolutely. It's one of those things you don't think about until you really need it.
Right. It's all about being prepared, right?
I know.
Having these essential supplies readily available can really help you feel more in control when those unexpected health situations arise.
I completely agree. It's not about living in fear of getting sick or injured, but it's about having the tools and the knowledge to respond effectively and minimize discomfort when those things do happen.
It's like having a little bit of peace of mind tucked away in your medicine cabinet. So to wrap up, we've explored the must-have over-the-counter medications for a well-rounded medicine cabinet, along with some crucial safety reminders. But remember, this is just a starting point.
You hit the nail on the head. It's so important to talk to your doctor or pharmacist about your individual health needs and any specific questions that you might have.
Right.
They can give you personalized recommendations and help you to make informed decisions about the best medications and health supplies for you and your family.
Great advice. And before we go, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
Okay.
As you build or revamp your own home medicine cabinet, think about your unique health concerns, your family's needs, and those little things that can make a big difference in your comfort and well-being. What would you add to your personal hero's toolkit?
That's a fantastic question to ponder as we wrap up our deep dive today. Empower yourselves, stay informed, and take charge of your health.
Thanks for joining us on this exploration of essential home medicine cabinet items. Until next time, stay healthy and be prepared.